Shabbat Shalom, everybody. This Shabbat is a special Shabbat. We have a double portion, and the two parashot are Vayakhel and Pikudei. They conclude the book of Exodus, Sefer Shmot, and it is special on many levels, and we'll talk about it. So the first level is the word Vayakhel means to gather or congregate the people. And literally the word Kehillah in Hebrew is congregation, and Vayakhel, he brought them all together. And it says he brought all the people, the whole Israelite community. And what's important about it is that this is after they finish building the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the tent of meeting. So now they have the first, so to speak, synagogue. It's the first temple, and it's movable. It's a tent, but yet it's the first community place for the Jewish people. So think about it. We now take it for granted that we have synagogues, we have community places and centers, but this was the first one. So in previous Shabbatot, of course, we talked about what it meant to build the Mishkan, the heart of the Jewish center, or community activity. So actually, the word that repeats itself all the time, and then we know that this is in the heart and the spirit of the place, is the word heart. And what we see is that in this parasha, after they finish building the physical place, there's a reiteration again about Shabbat and the importance of keeping Shabbat. So what's the connection? Why does the Torah need to repeat the importance of Shabbat? It already mentioned it in the Ten Commandments, repeated it before the construction of the temple, and now after. So, of course, we see that something about Shabbat is also in the heart of everything. So, two things about it. This is a very, very important and very interesting connection between the foundation of the physical place and the spiritual place. So Shabbat is the first time that we read in the Torah about holiness, that God created the world in 6 days and he rested on the seventh day and he made it holy. So in a sense, the real holiness in the world comes from something that has to do with Shabbat. And Shabbat is when we rest, when we actually not doing something, when we're not active. People today, of course, they underestimate what it means to rest. And we want to be very productive, and we're in this rat race of being competitive and amassing more wealth and always taking care of everything. But God says to us, if you really want to live holy life, you have to have a sanctuary in time, that it's okay to just sit down and not look at emails, not look at your phone, not be updated every second about what everybody else does. I run the world. And the part of it is for you to trust me and to trust that the world will continue to revolve with or without you. So what you need to do here is to sit back and enjoy the view. Now, that means that God loves us very much. To do that for somebody, to say, I got it, I got it under control. Don't worry. I made dinner, I fixed the house. I just want you to be my guest. Come and just enjoy it. Now, this is a beautiful idea, but it's even a greater idea because the Talmud tells us that at the end, when we leave this world physically, we are going to be with God in heaven, and the ultimate purpose in this world is to be able to, for our soul, when we go to the next world, to sit under the glory of God, under the throne of God, and just enjoy the glory. So think in your mind of a situation where in your life, and it might be different, that you just, the most enjoyable moment. So it could be just sitting with somebody you love, or just sitting in a place that you love and just looking at the ocean, doing something. So from God's perspective, and the purpose of our life is to be able to sit back and just enjoy it. So it's a situation that really mimics in many ways the Garden of Eden, because in the Garden of Eden we didn't have to work for our livelihood. We didn't have to toil the land. The garden grew itself, and all we had to do is walk around the garden under with the glory of God, and just eat from the trees and be with the animals. But when we didn't trust that, God said, okay, if you want to do it yourself, go ahead. Start growing your own food. Start having your independence, so to speak. But that's not independence, because that means that now you have to really work very hard to create that sustenance. So Shabbat and the sanctuary come from the same place. They're the place where you come there and you are now, you almost forget about yourself. You're now in the presence of God. So Shabbat is considered the sanctuary in time, and the place, the sanctuary, the, as we call Beit HaMikdash, the place of holiness, is the sanctuary in place. Now, there's of course a connection in that sense that they're both sanctuaries, but there's a very interesting distinction between the two. When God created the world in 6 days, and then he sanctified the seventh day, and he said it is holy, you would expect that maybe when the Mishkan, the sanctuary in place, would be completed, that would also be sanctified the same way. But that doesn't happen. God does not sanctify the place. The person that does it is Moshe. He goes with the ointment. The when we say the anointed one, we refer to the Mashiach, the Messiah. But you can be a different type of Messiah. Every king in Israel is a Messiah, because Mashiach in Hebrew, the mishcha, is the ointment that is put on their head. So the king can be Mashiach, the high priest is a Mashiach, because they are anointed with this ointment. So Moshe goes around all the vessels of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, and he sanctifies the place and all the vessels in it, which is a very interesting question. Why didn't God do that? So, and to understand the book of Exodus in general as we finish it, and to understand the relationship between God and the people of Israel, or between God and man in general, we have to understand these two things. God sanctified Shabbat, which means that Shabbat is here whether we make it holy or not. It's God's in a sense realm of holiness. And if you think about it, a place is always limited and it's always temporary, because that's what a place is. It could be here today, it could be destroyed tomorrow. A place is a limited place in space. So as big as it would be, as big as the Taj Mahal is, at the end, it has walls and it's limited in size. Time is not. So the realm of God, the infinity, is in time. Our time is limited, but not God's time. So God can sanctify that. But when it comes to the limited element, we have to sanctify it. And plus, God asked us to build that, the Mishkan, the sanctuary. There's a question in the Talmud, why didn't God just bring the sanctuary down, the temple, just bring it from heaven? If God wants us to have a temple, he could just present it to us. And it's the question that actually asked about the third temple. Will we have to build it, or will it come from heaven? And there are many answers about why did God tell us to build our own temple. And that's related to the name of the parasha, Vayakhel, because Vayakhel is congregation, is to congregate. And at the end, that is the point. Is to have our own project of the community, that people come together and they bring things and they are invested in personally, and that is the bond that keep them together. So in this parasha, when Moshe gathers the people, the first thing he tells them is not about the place. It's about the importance of keeping Shabbat. And that really is the two elements that have to come together, because if you don't know how to keep Shabbat, you don't know how to let go of things that you, of yourself, and as we say, let go and let God. If you don't know how to do that, then the sanctuary in place is not going to mean much either, because it's an exercise of coming into a place, coming into a time, and shed ourselves and just be with God and the glory of God. So that really is the kind of the introduction to this parasha. And then what Moshe tells them is that they brought more than enough. So this is another beautiful, beautiful place about thing about building the Mishkan, because they asked people to bring from their heart, bring whatever needed for the construction of the temple. They needed linen, they needed gold, silver, for the vessel, they needed wood, all the material, and they needed labor, expertise, and all the rest. And at the end, Moshe had to stop the people from bringing everything. He said, we have more than enough. So the point is that it's such an important concept, and people, the society that we live in today, and not just today, but human nature, wants to control everything. But God is telling us, when you stop wanting to control everything, this is where your shefa, your abundance will come from. I know it's counterintuitive, but that's what he said. I created this world. I control resources. If I want you to have something, you will have it. If I don't want you to have it, it doesn't matter how many loops you'll go through, or hoops, sorry, and loops and hoops, and you will not have it. So by saying to people, volunteer, give from your heart, see that there was nothing was mandated here. People brought more than enough. So, okay, so this is where we are, and Moshe sanctifies the place and all the vessels. And now, by the way, the description of building the Mishkan, the sanctuary, is the most told part in the whole Bible. It has over 300 verses, and they always compare it to the creation of the world. Imagine, God created the whole story of the creation of the world has about 30 verses. So it's 10 times more than the creation of the world. And this brings us to the importance of the time that we're in. This Shabbat is the Shabbat before the month of Nisan. And the month of Nisan is the month that the people of Israel came out of Egypt. In 2 weeks, we'll have Passover, 2 weeks from Thursday, from the new month. But it's much more than that, because the month of Nisan is not the same month of the creation of the world. There's the creation of the world, and then there's the creation of Israel. When Israel came out of Egypt, that was the creation of the people. So the question is, what is more? You have a question?
Oh, no. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. What is
I'm
more?
so sorry. I'm sorry.
No worry. What is more important, the creation of the world or the creation of the people of Israel? And again, the people of Israel is a symbol for a nation that God wanted to bring in to follow Him, right? To have relationship with Him. So, what is that? What does that mean? So, what it means is, even in the story of creation, when it says Bereshit, in the beginning, which is the first word in the Bible, in the Torah, the commentators and Rashi said that Bereshit, the word in the beginning, means for the beginning, and for the beginning means that it was for something else. That God created the world not for itself, but for a higher purpose. It's like creating a vessel for something more important than the vessel. So, for example, in our Parasha, it reiterates the building of the Ark of the Covenant. So the Ark of the Covenant is a very holy object, but it's here to host even a holier object, which is the tablets, that the word of God, the law. So, which means, and that's when God created man, right? Adam. What he did is he took the earth and shaped a Adam, but then he blew the Spirit of God into his nostrils, and only then he became a human being, which means that the body, the vessel, is always a vessel for something more important inside. When we talk about the creation of the world, is the same. That God did not create the world for itself. He created the world so he could inject the Spirit into it. And the Spirit that he injected into it is in the form of the people of Israel. Now, again, this is the idea of the chosenness and all the other things that God said, that we are his first child and so forth. But let's put that aside. God wanted to have that relationship with humanity because that was the point. God created Adam and Eve only at the end of creation. They were the last creature. God created all the other animals, created the trees and the water, and separated them, and prepared everything, the vessel, and only then he brought in and created Adam and Eve. So it's the same typology, as we say. It's the same idea that repeats itself in the Bible over and over. So here, we see that when the Ark of the Covenant is when the whole construction of the tent of meeting is finished, there is now we see that was the real purpose that God created the world. Because if the Torah spends 300 verses on this verses 30 on the whole creation, that means that this is really the purpose. So that means that when Israel came out of Egypt and was born as a people, it fulfilled the ultimate purpose of the creation. And that is why the month that the Jewish people came out of Egypt became the first month in the Torah. And from that point on, whenever the Torah refers to the first month and counts the month, first, second, third, it starts with Nisan, with this coming month, not with September or October, which is Tishrei, the first the month of creation. So when we celebrate Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year, that we actually have 4 heads of years in the Jewish calendar. It's about every season, and each head of the year is for something else. The Rosh Hashanah that we celebrate in around September, October, is the first year for the creation. We acknowledge today you created the world. And it was for tax purposes, that was the cutoff. But when we talk about the worship and the relationship with God as a Jewish people, we start with Passover, or we start with this month of Nisan. Now it goes even beyond that, because when the Israelites leave Egypt, the first thing that God tells them is, this is your calendar now, and this is the first month on your calendar. So it means many things, because it means that it's the beginning of the ritualistic year, but it also means that it's the first commandment that the Israelites received as a people. So this is so important. So this Shabbat is very special because it's the Shabbat. It's called the Shabbat HaChodesh, the month. It's always the Shabbat before the month of Nisan. The month of Nisan itself is a month that the names of the months in Hebrew, there are no names for the month. They go by first, second, third, just like the days of the week. We don't have specific names for the days of the week. They're always first, second, third, and until Friday, which is the sixth day, Yom HaShishi. And then because we always count towards somewhere, and these two ideas are now going to come together, the sanctuary in time and the sanctuary in place. Because the whole point is, when God brought in the Jewish people into the world, remember, we are the descendants of Abraham, the patriarch. And how did God and Abraham start their relationship? God said to Abraham, Lech lecha, go on a journey. Go on a journey to yourself. Go on a journey to the place I will show you. Take it one step at a time, but it's a journey. I'm not going to tell you everything that will happen in the future. He tells them in general, there are certain things that I will increase you, and I'll give you a land and children and so forth. But we never know how we will get there. So in order, life and faith, and that's what the relationship with God is, through faith, of course, because we can't touch, see, and feel God physically. So the faith is the connection with God. And faith involves taking one step at a time, that we don't know what's around the corner. We need to have that faith. So God tells Abraham, take one step at a time to the land that I will show you. Now, on a bigger scale, the people of Abraham that came out of Abraham, the descendants of Abraham, have to do this with God as a nation. God is telling them, this is the beginning of the journey, and we'll take it one step at a time, which means the sanctuary in place that they just constructed is not a fixed, is not a permanent a structure in place. It means that it will travel with them. The whole idea is to travel. Now, you can live in one place, and eventually the temple was set in Jerusalem. Took hundreds of years, of course, later, but actually, when King David wanted to build the temple to God, for God, God told him, who said I want a permanent place? I'm enjoying traveling with the tent. But eventually, King Solomon, it's like, I have an RV. I'm going around. I don't want to be living in a specific address. There's something very beautiful about it. But even when we are in a permanent place or a fixed place, the Torah tells us in many ways that we always have to travel. And actually, this is very interesting, because the Ark of the Covenant, even when, and it tells us in the Torah, even when you put it one day in the fixed place that God will choose to fix the location, don't remove the handles, the staves that carry the ark. So physically, it could be that if you have to run away with it or something, but on a spiritual level is don't ever, even if you fix the place, don't ever fix it in your mind. Always be a traveler, a refresher, that you don't get stale. The whole idea of being in relationship with God is to trust God to give us the food every day. The 40 days in the 40 years in the desert that the Israelite traveled, God supplied their food every day, and they were not allowed to keep it to the next day. Right? The manna came every night, and the word manna means emunah, means faith. In the Christian faith, there's the Our Father, the famous prayer, give us today our daily bread. And that is the essence of walking with God. Psalm 23, even though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I have no fear because you are with me. That is the people who God took. It said there are really three people in the Bible that it said that God took to himself. Enoch in Genesis, that says that he walked with God and God took him. So there's a whole mysticism teaching about the book of Enoch. It's an ancient book of a person that never died because they walked with God and God took them. The point that we're making here is that to walk with God, or to be in relationship with God, or to find infinity in this world, that place that never goes away, is to walk with God, is to embrace the journey, that things change, and with the change, always see God and how God is evolving, evolving with us, or that we evolve. So that really is a very amazing concept. So this month of Nisan is where the Shabbat, the sanctuary in time, and the sanctuary in place become our tools in the toolbox, or think of our, if you go on a trip. So there's certain things you have to take with you. If you have a car and you have to put in the car, you have to make sure you have certain things. So the two elements that God said, take them with you now forever on your journey, are the sanctuary in place and the sanctuary in time. So and start the journey. So this is a very beautiful, special teaching, and the reason that the description is so vast of the creation of the temple is because it's the purpose, and it's something that we have done ourselves, which means that we have connected the sanctuary with God. Shabbat, we didn't do anything to make it or create it. God already put it in place. So it's very nice, and we should, of course, keep it. But it would have been there with or without us. The sanctuary would not. This is similar to the grace after meal in the Jewish tradition, of course, the Birkat HaMazon, when we bless after we eat. And a lot of times people ask, why is it so long? After we ate, we want to we just want to go. We want to go to sleep. We want to continue with our day. We have to take like 10 minutes, well, maybe 5 minutes, but it's a long prayer of thanking God and asking God certain things. It's a long prayer. Meanwhile, when we eat an apple, it's a very short prayer after, before and after. Here, it's a very long prayer. Why? And the answer is exactly the same idea as the construction of the Mishkan, of the sanctuary. Why? Because when we eat bread, we have participated with God. We did something. In order to eat bread, you have to go through all these steps of planting the wheat, harvesting, grinding, baking. I mean, it's all these steps. So we are fully participants in the creation of bread. God created, of course, wheat, but we have prepared the bread. An apple, we didn't really do much with the apple. The tree was there, it grew, and maybe we cultivated the tree, but we didn't do anything to make the apple itself. It grew in itself. So the same idea. God created the world. That's great. We didn't have any part of that. But creating the sanctuary of God, bringing the glory of God, the Shekhinah, into this world and creating a space for it, that is where God and man, marry. That's the point. They have now a place that they can dwell together, of course, so to speak, because God is not physical, but we sanctified a place for that. So that's the beauty of walking with God. So everything about this teaching, this Shabbat, is about telling us that God wants the relationship with man, with our nation, and the way to do it is to for us to believe, to create, and God will come and dwell in the vessel that we created. And then we take it on the road and it becomes our sanctuary, movable sanctuary. You have the place and the time. Now the reason that it's also that it's very long, because it repeats itself 3 times. When God commands the people or tells them that if they want God to dwell among them, they should build the sanctuary. And he tells them, but if you're going to do it, there's a very specific way to do it, because think of we treat the sanctuary that we built as the footstool for God on earth. So in a sense, it's like Cinderella. We fit the shoe to God's foot. So the shoe has to fit. The shoe has to be to exactly the size that the shoe that God, so to speak, wears. So it has to be very, very specific. So God tells them all the specifications, and then the second description of it is when then Moses conveys what God has told him. He conveys it to the people. And the third time is in our parasha that actually what they did. So 3 times. It's like a good essay, I guess. Tell the people what you're going to tell them, or a good lecture. Tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Right? These are the three parts to a good lecture. So this is, but what it means is that this is the most important thing. And if you think about it, I can't remember who said that, but he said more than the people of Israel kept Shabbat, Shabbat kept the Jewish people. So if you think about that idea of that sanctuary that travels with us through wherever we've been, all the exiles, all the journeys, the wandering Jew, we always had these two sanctuaries. We always had the temple one way or another. If it then became later on after the destruction of the temple, synagogues, houses of prayers, we always made sure we had these two traveling with us. So, okay, so this is the first part of the parasha, the two parasha. That was the first one of the two. And by the way, the reason we have two parashot this week is because there are times in the year that we need to read them together, and times and years that we split them, that we read them separately each Shabbat. And why is that? Because every 3 to 4 years, we have we double the month of Adar, the month before Nisan. So the month that we're in now, some years it's double. It's the Jewish leap year. In the Christian calendar that we live in, we only double or not double, but add another day every 4 years to February, to the 29th day. But because it's a solar calendar, so it's more accurate that way. But we live by the solar calendar, but we have to catch up. We live with the lunar calendar, but we have to catch up to the solar calendar. So every about 3 to 4 years, we double the month of Adar. And why do we double the month of Adar and not any other month? Because when the Israelites left Egypt and God said, "This is your first month in your calendar," he also said that month is going to be in the spring. So it's the month of spring. So the month of Nisan and Passover always have to be in the spring. The other example is Ramadan, for example, right? We're just finishing Ramadan now. But according to the Muslim calendar, so they're the Jewish calendar, the Christian calendar, and the Muslim calendar. The Christian calendar is strictly solar. The Muslim calendar is strictly lunar, which means that for them it doesn't matter. The Ramadan can be in the winter one year and it could be in the spring. It falls when it falls. After the cycle of 12 months that follow only the cycles of the moon. The Jewish calendar is a combination. It's a lunar calendar that adjusts to the solar calendar. So Nisan always has to be in the spring, and that means that Passover is always in the spring. And that's how we adjust it. So when we have a leap year, we have more weeks in the year, because we just doubled a month. So we have 4 or sometimes 5 weeks more, 4 or 5 more Shabbatot. So then we need to split these readings, because we need to cover those Shabbatot. So that's why this year, because it's not a leap year, we have them truncated. Well, not truncated, but combined. Okay, so the second, and that the last part of the book of Exodus, and it's a good time before we look at it for a few minutes, is to mention again the structure of the book of Exodus, which is crucial, because the book of Exodus is divided to 2 parts, almost equal parts. The first one is coming out of Egypt, is to be born physically, and the second one is the building of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, which would mean to worship God, to a place to meet God, which is the spiritual birth. So God now at the end of the book is we have to do something that brings both together, those 2 elements in the book of Exodus, which is the physical birth and the spiritual birth. So Pikudei, Parashat Pikudei, lifkod means 2 things. It means to count. So it's in a sense, it's a we're going through a counting, what we do here every 10 years, census. It's the census. So that's one meaning of the word Pikudei, is to count, but lifkod, it's also to remember. When it says, when God Vayifkod pakad et Sarah, God remembered Sarah, that he promised her to have children, and even though now she's 90, she had a child. So he
What about
remembered
Zohar?
her. What?
What about Zohar?
Right. Zachar, lizkor, is another word for remember. But pakad is a different type. Every word has its own nuance, of course. Lifkod, it means to also do something, but not just to remember, but it's to remember to do something. So God remembered that he promised Sarah to have children, and he gives her a child. That's lifkod. So now they have the senses, and the way they count the people is not counting the people physically, but counting them through. We mentioned it before Purim. That was Shabbat Shekalim, the shekel, the half a shekel, the tax that people had to bring to the temple. So now that the temple is established, a tax, a very minimal tax, is established, that in order to be part in the future, every year, to be a member of the temple or the synagogue, you have to pay membership. That membership is a mandatory membership. The Torah tells us that even if somebody needs to sell the shirt off their back in order to get that half a shekel, they must do that. Because what it means is that they're counted with the people of Israel. It means that I'm here. The best example that I can think of is when people come for the holidays, the high holidays. They don't go to synagogue. They don't do pretty much anything to connect themselves to the Jewish people all year round. But it's very important for them to come for, even if they come just for Yom Kippur or just for Rosh Hashanah. That is the token to say, even though I'm not giving much, I'm not here much, not participating much, but I'm still, it's important for me to be counted with the Jewish people. So that's the Machatzita shekel. Now, Machatzita shekel is maybe today, so shekel means weight, mishkal, of silver or gold, but the worth maybe today would be somewhere between $20 and $30. So think of very minimal participation just to say, I'm in it.
Unlike Temple Emmanuel on Fifth Avenue, which is like thousands of dollars.
Well, membership today is thousands of dollars.
Yes,
That's true. But
Temple.
but there were other things that people brought to the temple to sustain it here. This is just the tax that would be used to, as you say, bedek habayit, to like when you point a building to see what needs to be fixed, that management companies of building do that every so often. It's the same thing. It's to keep the building going and the basic stuff that needed to be the oil, to keep the lights on. That's really what it's about. The rest of it, what the priest would like, the salaries and all that came from the offerings that people brought. So there was other ways to sustain the temple, of course, but this was just the basic membership. So it's like when people have membership today in synagogue, the memberships usually the membership dues cover just a part of the budget, the annual budget. I don't know almost any synagogue that the dues themselves cover as high as it would be, that would cover the whole budget, annual budget. I was a member of a very wealthy synagogue in the city, and they would also have, besides the dues were high, but still they always needed to do fundraising campaigns because it never really satisfied the budget.
But
So
sorry.
yeah, so the way they would count it is through the half a shekel. So you would bring a half a shekel, and and literally it says the half a shekel a head. So that's how they in Hebrew really the head or the skull. So it's beka legulgolet. That's how they counted the skulls, the heads. Half a shekel by the sanctuary weight. So they had the value of the silver, the gold, but there was a standard value that for many years, I would say probably after Second World War, about the world always in foreign exchange, the value of money always was measured against the dollar, the American dollar. So in a sense, it became the standard of monetary value in the world. Now, of course, there's all these nations that want to create a counter to that. It's called the BRICS, those 5 nations that want to start their own monetary system. But nonetheless, the American dollar served for now many years as the standard value. So in those days, it was what the temple value was. So if you came, for example, from Syria, you lived in Syria, and you came to the temple for the high holidays. So if you had certain amount of gold or silver, and you needed to exchange it, you would exchange the exchange rate would be according to that in the temple, and it literally called the holy value, shekel hakodesh, the sacred value. They didn't do futures or any derivatives or anything like that. That's even forbidden from the Torah. So there was a value, just like the American monetary system originally was measured against the gold. And we literally had gold to back it up. Countries had gold and they exchanged the gold. Now, of course, we don't do that, and it's all promissory notes in one sense. It's all built on some sort of trust. Um, but so that's how they counted them. And when they counted, so this is the first census of the Jewish people, and it says they entered the record from the age of 20 years and up. So it's only the males from 20 years old, and it came to 603,550. It was that specific. And the Talmud says that God keeps counting the Jewish people. We have the whole Chumash, the whole book of Numbers in the Torah. The 1/5 of the Torah is called the Book of Numbers because the censuses there several times. So and the question is, why do we need to kind of start or keep counting ourselves, or God wants us to count ourselves? And it says, because when you care about something, when you value something, you want to keep counting it. So if people have a treasured collection, so they keep looking at it and playing with it and counting it. People love money; they keep counting their money. So God values the Jewish people as his treasured possession. So he keeps. So there were 603,000. So the number 600,000 really became a standard for many things in halakha, in Jewish law, and in concept. And very interestingly, when the state of the modern state of Israel was declared by Ben Gurion, it was 600,000 Jews who lived in the land. So it's very interesting. So this is they count the people, they count the holy vessels, and eventually they show that the people brought more than enough, and that really how the book of Exodus ends, with the fact that they established both parts of the book. We came out of Egypt physically, and we've established the house of God so we can worship God. To remember that leaving Egypt was not for the purpose of just leaving, just like creation was not just for the purpose of creation itself. It was for the purpose of injecting the spirit into it. The creation of man is to inject the spirit. So this is the model for the life, our lives, and for how to walk with God, to be physically here and to be spiritually here, walking step by step with God in faith.